Hi everybody and welcome to David's Garage. I do appreciate everybody who has watched and everyone who has subscribed. So today I'm going to be doing my unboxing video of some boots that I just picked up from Drew's Boots. These are their Contractor boots in Harvest Tan. Actually, if you look on the side of the box, it actually calls this leather Bulldog Cognac Smooth. So yeah, that's what the box says, but on their website they call this leather Harvest Tan. Ooh, looks like they wrap them in boot bags. That's nice. Looks like they give you a sticker, pretty cool. And then some kilties and leather laces. So these are the Contractor boots by Drew's Boots in their Harvest Tan leather. So these are actually my second pair of Contractor boots. I did purchase some Contractor boots in their Rowdy Smooth leather last year, and I ended up selling them because the fit was a little bit too sloppy for me. And I don't know, for some reason, I just didn't love the chunkiness. I didn't love the paneling on the boot. I found myself gravitating more towards my Nicks and my Whites boots. But when I saw Drew's release this new leather, I thought it looked really nice. I wanted to give the Contractor boot a second try just because after I sold my Contractors, I would always think like, man, it just seems like a cool boot just to have, like sort of like for the weekend, can do like work and can be more casual, but it's still like heavy duty. So I ended up missing my Contractors after I got rid of them. So when I saw Drew's release this new leather, I thought this was a great opportunity to, one, try them again, get a different leather, but also I did go with a different size because, like I said, the boots that I got in Rowdy Smooth, they just had a little bit of a sloppy fit for me. So if you guys are not familiar with Drew's Boots, they are actually a boot company that, according to their box, has been around since 1918, and they are owned by Baker's Boots, which is like, I believe they have a retail store in the Pacific Northwest, but they also, have an online website. And so yeah, Baker's Boots owns Drew's Boots. And so these boots, they are, like I said, these are their Contractor boots, and these are made in Mexico. Drew's Boots, they have a line of logger boots and these Contractors, which sort of emulate Pacific Northwest logger boots, but instead of making them in the US, they make them in Leon, Mexico, which reduces some of the manufacturing costs, which is why they're not priced as high as Pacific Northwest boots. And according to Drew's Boots websites, this leather is a US hide, but it's tanned in Leon, Mexico. Probably from Lafargue Tannery, but I don't know. It could be from any tannery in Mexico, but I just know that Lafargue is probably the most well-known one, located also in Leon, Mexico. All right, so let's talk about this leather. So just opening these, I wish I had my old Drews to do a comparison, but I don't know, for some reason, these just do not look as chunky looking. Maybe it's the leather. Maybe it's because I went down half a size. Let's see, they don't talk much about the process, or like I said, and they don't state specifically the tannery. Just looking at this leather and feeling it, my guess is this is most likely a combination tan leather just because it's not super stiff, but I'll beat these up. I'm not worried about the durability of the leather, but definitely doesn't have like a super thick temper, which the Rowdy Smooth leather actually really was a stiff leather. It was definitely on the higher, more stiff side of the temper scale, if I had to guess. And this is definitely on the less stiffer. This is probably more soft. Also, when I'm feeling the leather, I can feel that it's been sanded down and corrected. It has that slight nubuck feel to it. So that tells me that this is a nubuck leather that's been corrected. All right, so it looks like this leather is just about 2.5 millimeters thick. So just under 2.5 millimeters thick, so not bad. It definitely is on similar thickness as, like, say, the work leathers from Seidel. Okay, so these boots are built on the modified 55 last by Drew's. And so what they did, according to their website, is they took the standard 55 last, which is the same as Nicks and White's 55 last, and I guess they added to the width. So it definitely has a wider toe box, definitely looks a little bit rounder than my other 55 boots, which have more of a taper here on the outside of the boot. So when I got these boots last time in 9.5D, they fit me actually really well. But I don't know, I just found my foot sliding a little bit too much. So what I did was I put a Nix leather insole in the boot to try and take up some of that volume, which helped a lot. But I don't know, I just eventually just gravitated away from those boots for some reason, and I got rid of them. So I'm happy I got these, and I got these in a 90. And so I'll tell you guys about the fit when I do my try on. And yeah, I don't know, maybe these just are actually a little bit smaller. Well, I mean, obviously they are a half size smaller than the Contractors I had before, but just something about them, it just doesn't, I don't know, it's just, I'm just lying to myself. I'm just convincing myself, because after I got rid of my old Contractors, I missed them, and I was constantly thinking about, like, man, I wish I would have kept them to, you know, try them out, make more videos on them, just because, I don't know, the last Contractor boots, I like them, but I didn't love them. So these boots, they are constructed with double row stitch down. You can see that they have 2 rows of stitch down going around. Doesn't go fully around the boot, and then looks like 1 row of stitches just ends a little bit earlier on the outside, and then the row on the inside goes a little bit further back. You know, the Vibram 430 mini lug outsole, I think it's a nice in-between outsole. I don't love it for the hardness, because it's a little bit, it definitely loses a lot of grip in the colder temperatures, but I'll definitely switch to heavier lugs in the winter. But just something to be aware of, and one of the downsides to it, but still, like I said, it's still a good sole. All right, so it looks like the midsole is just about 1/2 centimeter. I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 millimeters, almost 6 millimeters thick. Yeah, that midsole is almost 6 millimeters thick, I would say. So that is a very thick veg tan leather midsole. And then there's the leather heel stack. You can see they have the logger style heel. And then, yeah, solid brass hardware. It is, let's see, the tongue is gusseted up until 1, 2, 3, 4th eyelet. Yeah, it's gusseted up in between the 4th and 5th eyelet. So 4th eyelet and then the first speed hook, it's gusseted right in between there. Looks like it's got a veg tan insole, and looks like it has a half sock liner. So you can see right there, the back half of that insole is leather lined with a sock liner. And then, yeah, it's got leather line in the toe box, got a leather heel counter. This is a very, very stiff, feels very stiff, this heel counter. Now let's take a look at the stitching. Yeah, stitching looks pretty nice. Yeah, Drew's boots, they're not known for their finishing. I've seen quite a few posts on Reddit about their quality control, but I think these actually are really nice overall. Let's see how tall these boots are. All right, so from the very top to the very bottom, these boots are almost 7 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, almost 7 3/4 of an inch tall. And then if you were to go from the very top of the boot to the top of the midsole, let's see, these boots are, almost 6 1/4 inches. Almost 6 1/4, almost. All right, and let's measure from the inside. These boots are, looks like just over 5 1/2 inches, just barely over 5 1/2 inches tall. So yeah, these heels are, it's just over an inch. I would say it's in between an inch and an inch and a quarter. So I'm not sure you guys can see that, but it's not quite an inch and a quarter. It's right in between the middle of an inch and a quarter. But you know, this leather, it definitely has a nicer, lower temper. I think that, let's see if it's got, it's got some pull up. I can't wait to see how these patina, so I'll be definitely bringing some updates on these. The finishing, the stitching overall looks pretty nice. So I am very happy with these. All right, let's try these bad boys on. All right, so here they are. So in my last Contractor boots, I got a 9.5D. So I'm a 10.5D on the Brannock. In my Heritage boots, in my P&W boots, I always get a 10D. So On the 55 last, I get a 10D. In my Iron Rangers in Truman, in Parkhurst, I always get a 10D, fits me perfectly. And when I got the Contractors last time in a 9.5D, there was quite a bit of room around my toes. It didn't hug my waist super nicely. So this time I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go down a half size. Maybe it'll eat up that space perfectly. It should be a perfect fit. So these boots actually feel, there's no spare room around my toes. In fact, my toes are actually touching the front of the toe box. They're not squished because the toe box is a little bit wider, because, you know, Drew's on their website, they state that they modified the 55 last, so this isn't a standard 55 last. It's a little bit wider. And you know, another thing I'll mention on these boots is, on my last Contractor boots, the arch support was actually quite high. Probably had the highest arch out of any boot I've tried on before. And the arch is actually not as high as it felt last time. But overall, these are kind of tight. I do like the way that it hugs my waist and my heel. I think that this feels nice in the heel in terms of width for my heel and my waist. I may have to exchange these for a 9.5D and give 9.5D another shot, but see if it feels, if the 9.5D in the Harvest Tan feels like it did in the last Contractors I had in Rowdy Smooth, then I'm just gonna be right back where I was with my last one. So yeah, I wish Drew's would just have like a standard 55 last, because I love the 55 last. It fits my foot perfectly as a 10D. So I don't know, they had to go and just make it a little bit more difficult to size. If you guys have any advice, you know, let me know down in the comments what you think I should do. Let me know if you guys have Drew's Contractors or Drew Loggers. Let me know what your sizing advice is, or what you guys do for sizing. But yeah, that's everything I have for you guys today. I do appreciate your time, and I will see you on the next video.